If alone time feels uncomfortable, even a little unsettling, this might help you see it differently. Honestly, I didn't always get it either. For a long time, I'd just let those quiet moments slip by, or I'd feel so restless in the silence that I'd scramble to fill it with something, anything, just to make the emptiness go away. But it took me longer than I'd like to admit to realize that how you relate to time alone can quietly change everything about your day. And looking back, I wish I'd figured that out sooner. A lot of unnecessary energy went into running from it. But let me ask you something first. Have you ever dragged yourself to a social event you didn't really want to attend, because canceling felt awkward, or you didn't want to be the one who missed out? And then on the drive home, you felt somehow more drained than before you went? Or how about this one? You're having a totally free evening, no plans, no obligations. You pick up your phone, start scrolling, and suddenly you're watching everyone else's highlight reel. And out of nowhere, this quiet little feeling creeps in, like everyone else is out there living, and you're somehow falling behind. That feeling has a name. It's often called FOMO, fear of missing out, that low-grade anxiety that you're being left behind while life happens somewhere else. And here's the thing, if you feel this way, you're not broken, you're not weak-willed, you're not overthinking it. The environment we live in, the constant scroll, the curated snapshots of everyone else's best moments, it's literally designed to trigger exactly this kind of comparison. It's not a personal flaw, it's a very human response to a very overstimulating world. But here's where it gets tricky. When you don't recognize this feeling for what it actually is, it starts running the show. At first, it's just one uncomfortable event you pushed yourself to attend. But over time, social obligations start to feel exhausting before they even begin. And ironically, being alone starts to feel more and more uncomfortable too. Not peaceful, just empty. So you reach for your phone again, and the cycle repeats. And somewhere in all of that noise, you start to lose track of something really important. What you actually like, what you actually want, what actually makes you feel like yourself. If any of that resonates, stay with me.
Because today I want to share a few shifts in perspective that genuinely changed how I experience time alone. Not productivity hacks, not a 10-step morning routine, just a quieter, more honest way of looking at something we all have, but rarely make peace with.
Let's get into it. Here's something you've probably experienced but maybe never quite put into words. You spend a few hours with people, good people, fun conversation, and you come home feeling completely wiped out. Not physically tired, just depleted, like something got used up. But then there's the other kind of day. You take a walk by yourself, no destination in mind, no one to keep up with, and somewhere along the way, your thoughts start to clear. Or you're just sitting quietly, staring out the window, and suddenly a problem you've been wrestling with for weeks just clicks. The answer shows up, unprompted, out of nowhere. Now, it would be easy to chalk this up to personality. Oh, I'm just introverted, and move on. But there's actually something more interesting going on here. When you're around other people, your brain is constantly working in the background, reading facial expressions, tracking tone of voice, picking up on subtle social cues, who seems tense, who's engaged, who needs reassurance. For a lot of people, that background processing is exhausting in a way that's hard to explain because it never fully stops. It's not that socializing is bad. Some people genuinely feel more energized after being around others, and that's completely real too. But for many of us, quiet time alone isn't laziness. It's the brain finally getting to exhale. And there's something else worth mentioning. During unstructured downtime, when you're not consuming content, not performing for anyone, not solving a problem, your brain doesn't actually go offline. It shifts into a different mode of processing. It sorts through the day. It connects things you haven't consciously connected yet. It lets emotions settle instead of stacking up. That quiet moment of staring at nothing? It might look like wasted time, but sometimes, that's exactly where clarity comes from. So if you've been feeling unusually drained lately, more reactive, more on edge than usual, it might be worth asking yourself honestly, when did I last give myself a real break? not scroll time, not background TV, real quiet. And if this has been a persistent, heavy weight for a while, please don't hesitate to talk to someone, a therapist, a counselor, someone you trust. Everything I'm sharing today is general information, not a substitute for professional support. Alright, so if time alone can actually be useful, how do we make it work for us instead of against us? Here are 3 ways to think about it. Number 1. Time alone doesn't pull you away from the people you care about. Done right, it actually makes those relationships easier. I know, that sounds backwards. But here's the thing, when you're running on empty and forcing yourself into social situations just to avoid the guilt of saying no, you're not really showing up. You're physically present, but emotionally you're scraping the bottom. And people can feel that. You might get more irritable, more reactive, less patient, not because you don't care about them, but because you genuinely have nothing left to give. There's a real difference between someone who shows up to every gathering out of obligation, anxious, overextended, secretly counting down to when they can leave, and someone who knows when to step back, recharge, and then actually be present. The second person is more enjoyable to be around, not because they try harder, but because they have something real to offer. Time alone isn't distance, it's maintenance. Number 2. Alone time is one of the few chances you get to figure out what you actually like, not what you've been conditioned to perform. Think about how many of your daily choices are shaped by other people. The shows you watch because everyone's talking about them, the restaurants you agree on to keep the peace, the trips you take because they looked good on someone's feed. None of that is necessarily wrong, but layer it up over enough years, and at some point, you look up and realize you genuinely don't know what you'd choose if no one was watching. So here's a question worth sitting with. What would you do if nobody could see you doing it? Not what sounds impressive, not what turns a reaction, just what would you actually do? What's something you enjoy purely for yourself, with zero audience? And when was the last time you made a choice that was completely, honestly just for you? If those questions don't have quick answers, that's actually really telling. And that's exactly where quiet time alone starts to pay off. Eating a meal by yourself with no phone, taking a slow walk with no destination, sitting in a coffee shop and just watching the world go by. These aren't things you force meaning out of. You just show up, stay present, and over time, you start noticing what actually feels good to you, separate from everyone else's opinions and expectations. It shows up slowly, but it shows up. Number 3. Time alone is where you get to check your own direction, before you've gone too far down the wrong road. We live fast, and busyness has a way of making you feel productive, even when you're not sure what you're working toward anymore. It's like driving with your foot on the gas but no destination in your GPS. You're moving, but are you going anywhere that matters to you? Quiet, unscheduled time is one of the rare moments where that question can actually surface. When did you last sit somewhere still, no agenda, no one watching, and just ask yourself, what do I actually want right now? Not what I should want, not what looks good from the outside. What do I actually want? That one question, asked honestly in a quiet moment, can be surprisingly clarifying, because without the noise of other people's expectations filling the room, your own thoughts get louder, and sometimes the thing that rises to the top surprises you. So if being alone still feels a little uncomfortable, that's okay. You don't have to love it right away. You don't have to turn it into a spiritual practice, or fill it with journaling and green juice. You just have to be willing to sit in it for a little while. That's enough. Let's bring it all together. 3 things we covered today. First, that anxious feeling of falling behind, of being left out, of everyone else living more than you. It's not a character flaw. It's a very normal response to an environment that constantly puts other people's best moments in front of your face. But if you let that feeling drive every decision without examining it, it quietly steals 2 things from you: your energy in relationships, and your sense of who you actually are. Second, quiet downtime isn't wasted time. It's the time your brain uses to process, settle, and reset. That stretch of nothing you keep feeling guilty about, it might be exactly what you need most. Third, instead of treating free time like a problem to solve, Try treating it like a standing appointment with yourself. You don't need to do anything impressive with it, you just have to show up. This week, try carving out even one short stretch of real alone time. Eat a meal without your phone. Take a walk with no podcast. Sit somewhere quiet and just let yourself be there. It might feel weird at first, and that's completely fine. You're not trying to force a breakthrough. You're just practicing the art of being with yourself. And that practice, small as it seems, adds up. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. I'll be back with more of these, the quiet stuff, the honest stuff, the stuff that actually matters in daily life. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who might need to hear it today. Because here's the thing about time alone. It's not empty. You're in it.